Welcome to the Talkin Smash podcast. Matt Hetherington, your host, joined by Dan Ives from TableTennisDaily, one of the most prominent online figures in the world of table tennis. Dan, thanks for joining me for another podcast.
Making me blush, Matt. It's very kind of you.
That's my intention here. Either, any kind of emotion that I can get here. That's the main goal of this podcast. See, I want to see people getting worked up, blushing, smiling, laughing. The works.
That's it.
No, all within one podcast, if I can.
Yeah. No, it's great to be on the podcast again, Matt, and loving it. So yeah, here we go.
So the topic of this podcast is, I've posed it as a question. Is table tennis missing superstar athletes? What I mean by this is, like, within the table tennis community, there are table tennis players who stand out a lot. Perfect example is like Timo Boll, who just, I don't know how he keeps doing it, but he just won the WTT contender in Doha as world number 192 in a wildcard entry, I think. For me, like, he's like one of the players that kind of crosses over that boundary, but for the most part, table tennis fans know table tennis players. But are there like people in the sport that really stand out as like superstars because of their personality, because of like trademark things that they do? Personally, like, I don't really think they do. So anyway, that's like the broader topic. We're going to start off at the beginning, talking about Table Tennis Daily, because we didn't enough in the last podcast. Because you never can. You can never talk about Table Tennis Daily too much. So basically, you've kind of touched on this before. When you think about like your vision for Table Tennis Daily, how important is like the idea of developing characters and like developing people? You've kind of like created a team and you have nicknames and like, how important is it for you to try and elevate table tennis players to something that relates to a broader audience? That's basically the gist of my question. Even though it went on for ages.
No, I do get what you're saying, and take other sports who have mainstream athletes, Roger Federer, Djokovic, etc. People know who Andy Murray is. Oh, Andy Murray's in the final, I'm going to watch it. It naturally happens. Oh, Andy Murray's in the final of the US Open. Let's tune in. And everyone in England tunes in. I think it's really important. Yeah, personalities is key in people knowing the person, because then they're more likely to follow them. And that's a natural human kind of instinct. So I've done it before where I've done some reviews with some players. Like, I did a review before with João Garrido, and obviously I've seen him play loads of table tennis, but I never saw many interviews of him, so I didn't really know much about him. But when I did the review of him and hanged out with him for a couple of days, every time he played, I was tuning in, looking at his results. I was interested to see how he's getting on. I was like, oh wow, he just beat that guy. That's amazing, And like, don't get me wrong, he's a world-class player, but we all know more about Timo Boll or Samsonov than João Garrido.
Absolutely.
Right? But if we take someone like him, for example, it's like, I found it really interesting then. I was interested in more about him when he's playing tournaments. Then it got me thinking a bit more about, personality is so important, and knowing the person. And I don't know, with table tennis, the difficulty with table tennis is, and one person that actually broke this barrier is Janjika. Sorry for the pun, but Janjika, he did a lot of crazy things, and it made it stand out. But take the Chinese market, right? The Chinese market, Janjika did something crazy. He broke the barrier, smashed it through, got fined, went extremely viral across everywhere. It went on every news network around the world. And in China, he gained so many fans. I don't know if you was at it was one of the events, and like 3,000 Janjika fans came in. Load of like females come flying in the door, just
the whole block, right?
With we were there. Where was that at? Yeah, the flag. Where was that?
Dusseldorf, right?
Just
World Championship 2017, Düsseldorf.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good. Look, 2017.
I remember they bought the tickets. They bought the tickets for that whole section.
They blocked out the whole stadium, the side of the stadium.
The flag, right?
Yes.
Right, they had the flag that said like Janjica fan club or something.
Yes. And when Janjica lost, they were all outside crying, and people went to like interview them and stuff, and they were like, no. They were like in absolute like, they were going crazy, and I was like, wow, that is legit.
I wonder if they've changed their opinions now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe. But this
times have changed since then.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But this is an example of someone that kind of did manage to do what you're saying. How do you break this bridge into the mainstream market? I think one other thing, in the UK, Desmond Douglas is so famous. If you ask anyone in the UK, hey, tell me 2 table tennis players, they're 100% going to go Des Douglas. Some might say, who's the other one that was really famous back in the day?
In the UK?
Yeah. Who the really old school goats? I don't know.
How old school are we going? Like Carl Preen?
Yeah, maybe even a bit before that. I'm Googling it. Oh, my internet's down. Podcast. Yeah. Right. Anyway.
I don't...
I can't think. Chester Barnes. You ever heard of him?
Oh, okay. I do. Yeah, I have.
But
which
honestly,
is funny because it's funny you should say that now, because I have heard of Chester Barnes and I don't know who. Like, all I know is that he's a great English table tennis player.
Yeah, and basically what happened was I don't know when it was.
We're nerds like that. Like,
yeah. No, but if you ask people on, I might actually do a fun video going around London with a mic and go up to people and say, hey, name me a table tennis player, and just see what the reactions are, see what we get from people.
That would actually be really interesting.
It would be great. Yeah. I'm going to do it. There's a new idea. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll shoot it. Yeah, but you could do every city and find out which city is the most knowledgeable.
Here comes the snowball.
Yeah. Fantastic idea. Yeah. Okay, so where am I going? So Chester Barnes, Des Douglas, these guys, they were so famous because they were on national network TV in the UK. They were on BBC every week. So I think there was like a pool channel, like snooker and pool, like a fun game show. And after, they always aired table tennis. And it was always Des Douglas and Chester Barnes and those guys at the top. And everyone knew him in the UK. Everyone tuned in for it. So that helped that generation. Today's generation is social media, it's digital. It's really hard to get on it's really hard to get on the TV. So until like someone from, I don't know, let's say Liam Pitchford tomorrow won the World Championships, he would probably get aired more on BBC. So then it will go on the TV. People will start to say, oh, did you see Liam Pitchford last week won this tournament? And so the difficulty...
I would actually genuinely say that in the last couple of months, I have seen some outstanding Liam Pitchford content from Table Tennis England.
Yeah.
Especially the one he just did the cycling one. He was on the bike with the British cycling team. He was just holding on the bike, and they were like, how does that feel? And he said, I feel like I'm about to shit myself. Just this is the kind of content that I love. Like, it's honest, it's raw content. Exactly. The funny part was when I was talking to him about it, he was like, I genuinely didn't think that they were going to leave it in. He thought that part was going to be edited out. But I love that. I love that stuff.
Exactly, right. So
very entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And now Liam Pitchford, he's hilarious, got great personality, Truls Morgard. There's loads that do. Now, the difficulties we have is if they don't win a massive title, like when Truls got to the final of the World Championships, that did massive for him in his career in Sweden. Like, everyone in Sweden now follows him, and I know he is gaining profile in Sweden. Right. But at the very, very top, the Olympics, the world, you've got the Chinese, and they're so dominant, and it just makes it hard to the networks, the big channels are only going to post the finals, right? Like BBC in the UK is the big one, and I remember once we was in the England were in the world. Was it the world teams bronze, or did they get to the final? Remind me, it was a crazy. They got to the final, right?
World teams semi-final.
Semi-final.
Japan.
Yeah.
in
Kuala Lumpur?
2016, but they could have made it. They were very close.
Exactly. It was so close.
It was Pitchford and Mizutani, and he had a chance to win. It was a very weird timeout call during that match. That that was big. And then there was also World Team Cup was hosted in London, I think 2018. They made the semi-final of that as well.
Yeah, so exactly. And they were massive. Yeah, they were massive. And I remember at the time, it didn't get aired on BBC. It weren't on the main channels in the UK. But I reckon if they'd got to the final, it might have. And then that could have done something different, you know. It could have... So, okay, I don't know where I'm going with this is until it makes the main networks of the stations, then you ain't going to get that mainstream, right? There's only so much the internet can do. You know, you can get viral points and stuff. Do you not think though that the internet has more capability these days to do it than like this is true. This is true.
Because I don't have cable. Like I don't watch TV at all. I'm like streaming services and YouTube. True. Basically.
Okay, so maybe there could be a Netflix documentary or
I definitely that would be great. I mean, I get what you're saying for sure. Like it's still like a big thing. You know, like ESPN Sports for like football and stuff like that.
Yeah. But take Emma Raducanu, the tennis player, right? She got she won the US Open from the UK. She actually only lived 10 minutes from my house growing up. You know, she hasn't got the most craziest personality in the world, but she used to play
table tennis, didn't she?
She did just play table tennis. Yeah. And she won the US Open. It was on main TV, the US Open. I remember everyone around the whole UK was like, wow, this 16-year-old or whatever it is in the final of the US Open. Tune in. It's going to be insane. And everyone in the world, everyone in the UK, especially, just tuned into the final. It was one evening, whenever it was, and everyone in the UK tuned in. And the next day, she'd become a global icon. And if she hadn't got to the final, you know, I wouldn't have watched the final. You know, I tuned in. I never watched any of her matches up to that point. And was like, this girl's fantastic. Wow, I need to watch this. This is incredible how she's got to the final, right? And it was that story. And I guess it would have been similar with Truls. When Truls got to the final of the World's Champs, if he'd have won it and beat Fan Zhendong, maybe right now he'd have, 500 fans outside his house. I don't know. But there's an impact for sure of winning something and the nation watching. So with going back to table tennis, these big events, it's just so hard. It's so difficult. It's so difficult for countries to get the medals, to win gold. And that impacts...
Yeah, that's true.
So, I
guess one of the other things is like, okay, this is not just also about like one standout athlete. It's more also about how those athletes then go on to like feed into promoting a sport. It's like you said, right? Somebody like Radanku wins a Grand Slam. All of a sudden, there's like people who will tune in and watch tennis that maybe didn't watch tennis before,
for sure,
because they want to watch her play.
A lot of girls now take up tennis because of her. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. Sorry, Matt. Another example is. Sorry, I keep butting into you.
No, go ahead.
But the women's well,
the women. It's not my podcast at all. Go ahead.
But I just like the women's football in the UK right now is the fastest growing thing. Women's football, because we won the European Championships, the women, and it was insane. And now all the girls, all the young kids, all want to play football and play in a women's football team. And that got aired on main TV. 23 million people watched the final in the UK. And it just transcends things when something crazy happens. Go on.
So obviously, like one of the things is like the Chinese team win basically everything. If it's a big tournament like Olympics, they're going to win everything. World Championships, odds on they're going to win everything. The majority of the time, if not all the time. They're not. I mean, okay, they're like superstars in their countries. In China, like it's just a country. They're like big superstars there. I've been there. I've spent time with like Guo Yan when I was there. Who was like, I went to her club, and she kind of took time out of her schedule to like genuinely take care of me, like take me out for lunch and like
epic,
pick me up from the hotel in the car and stuff. And even like we couldn't have lunch without people coming up to her and be like, oh,
yeah,
you're Guayan, you know,
yeah.
world number one, World Cup champion. And just like that for me was like really interesting, because I was like, they are legitimate superstars in China. But does that really spread to other countries? And it doesn't. It really doesn't.
No,
and
no, it doesn't.
I think like generally like they're very reserved. They don't like to be in front of the media that much. I mean, even Zhang Jike, like, let's be honest, personality wise, and like how he presented himself to like his fans and to the media and stuff, like he didn't really stand out that much. Like he was just really good at the sport and was like good at winning. Me, like I was always more of a Ma Long fan, like, but I never felt like Zhang Jike was like presenting himself to his audience in like a unique way. Like, honestly, if anything, he kind of like, he didn't really want anything to do with it that much.
No.
So I guess, the other question that I had for you was like, how do you feel about how the players present themselves to their audience? Especially like in recent years, I think they've started to become more active on Instagram and like social media, and started making some of their own content. So it's become they've started to make some connections, which is, it's bad for people like us, because we were the conduit before. Like we were the ones who were connecting people to the, now it's like they can make their own content. So, you know, they don't need us anymore. But how do you genuinely feel overall about how players interact with their audiences?
So yeah, there's definitely some players that do it a lot better. I feel like the younger generation is very good when it comes to social media and doing fun stuff. And for example, I'm in a broadcast Instagram channel with the LeBron brothers, and every single match I think Felix plays, he just puts a voice note in there and updates his fans like, hey, I mean, I don't even understand it. It's in French, right? But I'm in it for whatever reason, and I just find it interesting. And he's obviously...
I'm in there as well.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because like take 5 years ago, like it's quite a new thing, the broadcast channel, and like being able to voice note your fans, and it's just fascinating seeing those guys do it, because they're really new gen, right? And like they're young, and they're just they're a bit more switched on to newer type of stuff.
Like combined. I like that they've like combined both of them into one broadcast channel.
Yeah, that's exactly. Cool. So they're both just voice noting after a match or whatever, they're posting how they got on. And that's quite cool, right? Because they've got a very solid like following in that broadcast channel, and you know, real aggressive fans. Yeah, you know, hardcore fans, and they're like, "Hey guys, you know, today I did this."
Gimli's.
Yeah. So like,
fans.
Yeah, exactly. So this was really cool. And again, the other slight tricky thing, and I spoke to players about this as well, like some of the older guys, and when they're at tournaments, there's a lot of concentration to perform well, right? There's a lot of focus, a lot of tactics. Right. Yeah. You know, table tennis is such a hard game. Like it's just such a hard game. You're not in a team environment where some of the team carry you and you can all just have a bit of banter and, you know, like football teams do. And then you knuckle down when the match starts. But in table tennis, it's like, you got to worry about everything up to that game. And you know, you've been in the training hall with the guys, you know, it's quiet, they're focused. And, you know, if you had to play a match right now, Matt, you know, I don't know. Me and you had to play against each other, right? It was like, right, whoever wins this, whatever, put something on the line, like a funny forfeit, right? We would both like prepare, and you'd have to prepare. Like, it's difficult. It's not easy to just like be blasé and have fun on your phone and digital stuff, and then get knuckled down into the match.
You picked a bad example.
We played once. It was fantastic. Do you remember when we played?
Of course I remember. Do you know how much, dude, that video has haunted me for like
damn.
Yeah. So people walk up to me and be like, "Oh, yeah, Matt, love the content that you're posting online." They're like, "Oh, YouTube." I'm like, "I'm not really doing that much on YouTube." They're like, "No, I saw the video of you and Dan." I'm like, oh, "Fuck." Like, of all the things, any person that searches for anything of mine, the first thing that they will find is
just put your name in YouTube.
Showdown.
That's
Literally,
great.
the first thing that comes up. I'm like, oh God! Like, if I could turn back the time on one thing, like, just run that back. It's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah.
But
do you remember Timo's
it's gonna be really hard to knock that off. I do. I do. Of course, I remember.
We should get a rematch.
Being called an 80-year-old fat Waldner in the comment section was the thing that I remember more than anything else.
Hilarious.
We actually ran a poll. We ran a poll on it afterwards for the community to decide whether it was a compliment, which they thought it was. I think it was like really funny for somebody to like probably sitting behind their keyboard going, this guy's like an 80-year-old fat Waldner. I'm like, thank you. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Much appreciated.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Waldner's a little bit chunky anyway, so just you're basically calling me an 80-year-old Waldner. I was like, if he gets to 80, I'm sure he will still have some disgusting tricks up his sleeve. So,
oh yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah, we'll run with it. Yeah.
So,
anyway, moving on from that video.
Yeah. So again, going back,
honestly, like even for me, it was like a problem in the beginning. Like the way that I am on social media now is very different to how I was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really as concerned or like uptight as before. Like I can come on this I can do this podcast and I can say like, I mean, I just did before. Like I don't feel like terrible dropping an F-bomb here or there or like saying something. In the beginning, I wouldn't have been like that. But at the end of the day, it's like everybody who knows me in person is well aware of the kind of stuff that comes out of my mouth. So what's the point in hiding it? But I think I genuinely think like a lot of table tennis players are very, very reserved because we know lots of them. They're just the best bunch of people ever. You just you don't get to see it. Yeah.
And again, I mean, I think for sure players could do more. So they could do more Instagram stories and show behind the scenes stuff and practice and different things or when they're out and about. And players are doing it for sure a lot more. It is, you know, even for us when we go to events, it's quite hard to maintain that stuff when you're trying to do other things, and it can be difficult.
Really, yeah.
And if you take other sports, so if you take other sports like, I don't know, Andy Murray, for example, for sure he's got someone posting for him. He's got someone doing all his Instagram posts, all his stories, and they've got the budgets because they're such big sports. He's got his own physio that goes around him 24/7. And table tennis players, not all of them have do you know what I mean?
I mean, I'd almost wonder if there's a single table tennis player that has like a paid PR person.
Yeah,
I'd wonder.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anyone that's like, you know,
actual PR, like marketing, not like their agent, the actual. Yeah, I bet the Chinese team will have that. Chinese players will have that. Because they post themselves on Weibo, don't they? Yeah, I don't know. But do you know, the Chinese team.
They do. I genuinely don't think they do.
But if you take other sports, you know, they've got loads. So they're taking that pressure off them as well.
Even pickleball.
Yeah.
Even pickleball now. The pickleball guy. Right. The pickleball people have PR people, and they some of them kind of share a PR person.
Really?
So they're like, you know, they'll kind of pull together and be like, okay, this PR person is going to represent players A, B, and C. So they share the cost.
Interesting.
But it makes a huge difference. It makes a really huge difference.
In what way then? Just the way that the social media, the way they are?
Everything. The quantity of posting, the quality of posting, ideas of what gets posted. Like, it's very personable. There's lots of tutorials. Like, apart from Anders recently has been doing more tutorials, but like the majority of table tennis players are never going to be like, okay, I need to set aside some time so that I can do a tutorial video for Instagram.
For sure.
But if they had a PR person, the PR person would be like, hey, I think you should be doing more of this. Yeah.
How'd you do this serve, or how'd you do that? For sure. Yeah.
Right. Or, you know, I mean, even even the PR person can film them during a drill and then just be like, hey, at the end of their training session, be like, give me like 3 tips for that drill that you just did. And then they can build the content out. Doesn't take any time for the athlete.
Yep, true.
But I think that makes an enormous difference. Really huge.
For sure. But see what you're saying there, like that's taken a lot of stress off the player. You know, and it's easy for the PR person to be like, oh, hey, whoever it is, you know, like you said, give me 3 tips that you just had from that thing. And then they can post it online. They can make it look nice and tidy. And then it's great, right? The user base love it, and their fan following grows quickly. And the fans are seeing them in that environment where they're not just playing, they're talking, and it builds their personality. You're more likely to follow them. Yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier with like Emma Raducanu and stuff, you know, when you know more about the person, you're much more likely to follow them, you know, and see the results. And I think that needs to build more.
Yeah. I think also like the interactions, like honestly, one of the biggest things for me that really helped my platform grow, but something that I was like pretty committed to for the whole time was like, I still to this day, will respond to like any DM on Instagram that is like anything more than like hello. Like if somebody just says hello or hi, it's like, okay, like I don't know where this is going to go. I don't have time for like small talk, like how's your day? But if they send me a message that's anything table tennis related, I'll reply. I always have, always will. So like that kind of, okay, it's not like possible for professional table tennis players. Not all the time, but like I feel like they never do it. So there's like a wall between the players and their audiences, because most of them are like, okay, I can't look at my inbox right now for my Instagram page. Like we're not doing it. So that's like a big wall as well.
For sure. And again, it goes back to, I mean, there could probably be more, you know, let's take WTT, for example. There could be more BTS stuff going on that would help these players. So maybe at these events, there's people like me and you there and others, content creators, and, you know, we're all just there to just make world-class content. And the players are aware of it as well, that, hey, we're here to, you know, kind of like what we used to do back in the day with the vlogs and stuff. But at the same time, you know what it's like? It's very tough because you don't want to disrupt the player. You know, let's say, for example, I don't know, we interviewed Dmitry Otrov or something, or someone else, and they have a bad game. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's a challenge one, because you need to know the person. You need to know the person individually. And that's where PR managers will get to know their person, and they know when they can talk to them at the right time and when not to talk to them. Do you know what I mean? But that definitely would help the game. It would help the game grow by just having more content that isn't the match being exposed. Yeah,
I agree.
And not so over polished. Or if there's like world class cameras and stuff, and it's all just very over polished, then you want something that's really raw, you know, raw stuff.
Yeah,
like this podcast where F-bombs come in.
This. Yeah, exactly. All right, we're gonna jump into the break segment. I had good fun with the last one.
Here we go.
This one for me is it's better.
All right.
So it's a game of this or that, but
okay, I
haven't called it this or that. I've called it world class or the donkey.
This is brilliant, Matt. You know your stuff. This is great.
You can imagine how that's. You can imagine how that's going to go. So I'm going to give you. I've got 6 things here, and you're going to tell me whether you think they're world class or whether you'd throw the donkey at them.
Right.
Okay. So the first one is people who say that table tennis is not a sport.
Yeah, throwing a donkey.
Yeah, I'm definitely throwing the donkey.
I think this is
There was a long pause before that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was trying. Yeah, it really was. Definitely donkey. But you know what's interesting? I think that's starting to change now because of social media, and now people are seeing a lot more table tennis content from social media. They're starting to think, what the hell?
Yeah.
These guys are insane. Like, I've heard a lot of people say that now when I'm at pubs or bars, and people are saying, like, do you know what I mean?
I have genuinely noticed that there is still, like, a lot of shitty comments on videos. I mean, that's always going to happen. It's the internet. But I have noticed a change. There are less people who are going, this is not a sport. Like, this is a joke. They've kind of, like, moved on to other comments and stuff like that. But I'm not going to give specific examples. But anyway. All right. Well, we're throwing the donkey at all of those people anyway.
For sure.
The second one, the funny thing is, I know how you're going to answer all of these. And I picked some. There's one that's going to really piss you off. The second one is the chairman's backhand clump.
It's actually world class. No, it actually is. No, it's raging world class. When he times it right, it's so unstoppable because he does it in the most ridiculous positions, and you're like, what on earth? But it just seems to work. Got to give it the world class.
Fantastic stuff. Okay, the third one is this could either go either way, or you could potentially sit in the middle on this one. WTT's side camera angle.
You're a hustler.
You're gonna hate the next one. So if you don't like this one, you're gonna hate the next one. This is like a contentious topic. The side angle. This is a big topic.
I'm gonna give you an answer. I'm just gonna beat around it a little bit for a second. Actually, when they start the side angle,
this is going to be the real ping pong diplomacy.
No, it isn't. I'm going to tell you my answer. So, like, I use now the side angle in our videos, and it's fantastic. Like when we're doing reviews and stuff, I always smash the side angle there now. But I'll go to it maybe 5% of the time, and it's great for like.
Okay.
We did it. I just released a video now of Jorgen Persson where he's going around the table. Yeah, replays, backhand on line, boom, for sure. Replays. We've got 100 FPS camera on the side angle, so it just captures great stuff. That's when I would use it. But to use it as a main, I'm chucking in the donkey. For me, it's like, again, it was great to use, but transitioning to the original one that was used to use back in the day is better, I think, because with the one on the side, it becomes the same. It's quite hard. I've watched like full length matches where it's just on the side, and it's hard work. You know, you're seeing the same angle and. It's tough. It
reminds me of Pong. You know the Atari game from 1980s. That's very flat, like 2-dimensional. I'll tell you, like, and the biggest reason that I like the old angle is because when you're a table tennis player, being able to like have the perspective like behind the athlete kind of allows you to be like part of it. But once you turn to the side angle, it's just you feel so removed. Like, and no racket sports doing side angle.
Oh, exactly.
Like, where did we get this idea
Wimbledon,
from?
Wimbledon, US Open.
Can you imagine watching tennis from the side?
Yeah.
Can you imagine
the whole match? Yeah, it would be hard work. So,
garbage. It would be terrible. I'd rather watch fucking Wii tennis.
Wii tennis. That thing was incredible for its time. You're good. You make a good point.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sling it.
All right.
It's all right.
This is actually going to give you PTSD. Number 4.
Oh God.
People are not going to understand this. Number 4 is reflex sports.
That's a real niche. That's for the 0 points. That's for the diehard 0.1% fans. I thought he was going to mention that in the previous podcast, but you didn't bring it up.
No, I just held my tongue. Yeah.
All you need to say is reflect, and then I know what you're saying. You know, like at the time, Donkey's going straight in there. But, you know, now I think about it as like they didn't really know what they were doing. They were new to the copyright. Do we need to give a bit of context what Reflex Sports is?
Yeah, a little, just so people know what happened.
So Reflex Sports, they own the rights to all the Waltness footage, all the World Championship footage from back in the day. And I posted a really short video of Waltner playing football, which was licensed to Reflex Sports, and it was integrated in one of the videos that we made. And Reflex Sports, blimmin', put a copyright strike on the channel, and it deleted the channel. And at the time on YouTube, even if you had one,
they ended Table Tennis Daily.
They ended Table Tennis Daily, yeah, and I had to start again. Whew, it was a hustle. So all the stuff I did to about year 2011, 2012 was just gone, and I had to start the channel again. And I had lots of back and forth with them on emails, and they wouldn't give up the strike. And I was like, look, guys, I made a mistake. I didn't even know who owned it. I didn't even know what copyrights was. Like, people are a lot more educated now to copyright, you know. So, yeah, it is what it is. But, it was a tough time, but it made me motivated to, like, make the channel even bigger.
Right. That's good. Well, so we're not going to say that they're world class, but we're revoking
they're not world class.
The prior donkey.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. It is.
Yeah. All right. The fifth one is the old post-match interviews. You remember, like, the ITTF post-match interviews? It was like the player would come off the court and then they do like a really. They actually used to clip them and post them on YouTube as standalone videos.
Yeah. I remember those. Some were all right.
Some were all right. They weren't very inspiring. They were not very inspiring.
We have to give the donkey. Yeah, we have to give the donkey to that. They could have been a lot better for sure. Yeah. And I don't think enough effort was spent on that type of stuff.
I think a lot of it is like the questions that get asked, really, as well. I mean, it's the same for this part. Like, if I asked you boring questions, to be fair, you'd probably find a way. You'd wiggle around it, but most of them, it's like, what were your tactics in the match? It's like, I tried to keep the ball on the table more. It's like, oh, fuck, really?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
But I think also, though, that they put people in those positions who actually are not passionate table tennis people. So then they're not too sure what to ask. Do you know what I mean? And that's the problem. So, like, if more energy was spent on putting the right people in those positions, like, you know, chuck someone like you down there on the sideline of the court.
We've started doing this. We've started doing this with Major League Table Tennis in the US now, where we're doing like short little interviews after the match. And it's like, when somebody knows like the previous matches and the team's progress, and they know the players in the team and like the doubles partnerships and the golden game strategy and all that kind of stuff. When you have someone like that, and then you have someone like me there as well, who can also pick at something that happened during the match, like, I noticed after the second game you started returning short more. Like, what kind of thing goes through your head that goes, okay, I need to keep the ball tight, that kind of stuff. It's like they can they're like, okay, this makes sense. This did happen during the match. I can tell you why I did that. But when you ask them like open-ended questions, it's like just crap interviews.
Yeah, it's like generic.
The fact that they uploaded them as like individual pieces of content, I was just like, God, you're kidding me. They stopped doing it, which is good. Yeah.
That's it. But you need the right people. You need go on.
Right. Yeah. The last one is Table Tennis Daily's ITTF live chat.
That was world class.
That
was great, wasn't it? Do you remember those days?
2012.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
2012.
Yeah. So again, the early days.
For those of you who don't know, so in Table Tennis Daily, Dan used to have an embed of the ITTF live stream. And then he'd built Table Tennis Daily's live chat into it. So we used to gather on Table Tennis Daily and, watch together and chat. It was brilliant.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? You know, that used to break the server all the time. We'd have to upgrade the server because so many people were coming in to watch it. Honestly. But do you know what's crazy, right? that kind of thing was so much fun, and that's what YouTube Live does now, right? Like, it was kind of ahead of its time, that sort of little chat thing. It was brilliant.
It was
so
really,
good.
really was.
I would tune in like, yes, Matt's online, let's go. And we would watch Wang Hao versus Wang Lichin and just chatting away like, oh my God, it's free.
It's great.
It was amazing. Amazing times.
I genuinely feel like that kind of thing like made the table tennis world like a smaller place. Because I got to know people during that time on Table Tennis Day. This is before I moved to the US. By the time I moved here, I then met people that I knew through the forum that would show up at the club and be like, it's me. And I'm like, no, like, really? Because we didn't so cool. like most of those people, like at that time, we had like crummy little avatars. We didn't know what their faces looked like.
Yeah,
for a lot of them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's me, like so and so from the forum. I'm like, God, really? Like, that's
that's insane. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Class.
Yeah, that was world class. Fantastic. It really was.
That was good.
Cool game.
World
class on Donkey Game Show
on that and move on to the next thing. Thank you. Yeah. You can use that if you want to use that later on for TableTennisDaily.
I'm going to use it. It's a great show.
Use it. Okay, this is like a perfect thing to move on that you kind of touched on already when you talked about Emma Radanku for the tennis. That's not how you pronounce her name, is it?
Well, Emma Raducanu. Raducanu.
Yeah, I keep saying it wrong, which is terrible. But
I don't think I'm saying it right as well, to be honest.
This is like we kind of like covered this a little bit already. But what do you think are like some breakout things that would really make a difference? Like that would really help table tennis players get to the mainstream? Maybe like aside from winning a big event. So I have like a really, really good example. And I don't know if you would remember this or whether you saw this. But there was a Chinese swimmer in the Rio Olympic Games. And her name was Fu Yuanhui. And they did like the interviews with her after she would finish her swimming races at the Olympics. And she was like this wide-eyed, eccentric, like full of energy, very big like facial expressions and like craziness. And she was so honest with like her answers.
Right.
They actually like, I think after the race that she won the bronze medal, they interviewed her at the end and she didn't know that she'd won bronze. And so they started out and they were asking, she's like, oh, you know, like I tried my best. I tried so hard, but you know, sometimes it's just not enough. And they were like, well, you got bronze. And she's like, wait, what? She's like, I won a bronze medal. And she's like, really? And then she like gets like all excited. And it was so different from like anything that you would expect from Chinese athletes. And she was in the news everywhere around the entire world. They were like, look at this athlete, this Chinese athlete, you know, a nation that you really never expect for them to be like that animated. I'll send you some videos later. Like you'll
this sounds really cool. I have to check it. Yeah. Surprised I missed it.
But like stuff like that, like I guess
because she didn't win it, she got bronze, but then went viral.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was also during the Olympic processing. So when I was the PR with the Olympic team before Rio, the US team for table tennis, they have processing, and all of the athletes come to one place. They get like all this stuff from like Nike and Ralph Lauren and tons of stuff. It's for them, it's amazing. For me, I was like, lucky bastards. But like I met a couple of other athletes there, and there's a fencer called Miles Shamley Watson, I think. I'm pretty sure that was his name.
Right.
And like fencing's it's not a huge sport. Like fencing's not a big sport. And I think at the time he was sponsored by Nike, and he had like a signature move in fencing where he could like wrap around behind his back and then like get them from around behind his back. And I was just like, okay, this guy stands out like significantly from the rest of his sport. So stuff like that. That's kind of like, I'm going to tie this in with the next question. Because in the next question, I wanted to know, like, if you were to pick one player and you were like the PR for that person, like, what approach would you take if you were like, this is going to set you apart, like this is going to set you into the mainstream? So what do you think players need? What do you think to elevate themselves beyond table tennis?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough question because also, if
I'm good
it
at
would have been
tough
done,
questions.
So take like Michael Mays. When he won, no, he didn't win. Remember he beat Hao Shui, that big comeback, and where did he get? Well, it was the World Championships 2008. Is that right? 2004.
He made it 2005.
2005 Shanghai.
He made the semi-final. So he beat Hao Shui.
He beat Hao Shui in the quarters. Yeah, that's it.
Was that the quarters? Remember, early. He beat Wang. I felt like he beat Wang Hao in the quarters, and then in the semi-final he got totally undone by Marlin. Because Marlin's no fool when it comes to playing a lobber.
He just does the drop shot. But Hao Shui was, of course, Hao Shui had match points, and Michael Mays fell on the floor, carried on lobbing, found a tactic and won, and went really viral in China or around, like in the table tennis community. It was absolutely insane, and Michael Mays got really famous in China. Everyone knew who he was after that. I also heard that Simon Gauzy, when he played Xu Xing in one of the World Championships, went really viral in China after that because he took the Chinese player close. There was that crazy rally. Did Simon Gauzy beat Xu Xing in the tournament? Did he beat him?
I feel like it was close.
Yeah, maybe he did beat him. I think he did.
Budapest, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so I feel like with table tennis that we haven't yet to see, except Werner Schlager, win a major who's non-Chinese, right? In the last 30 years. Werner Schlager won the World Championships in 2003. And he's like a superstar in China. Like massive. And how do... and okay, that hasn't entered him into the real mainstream, right? People in America don't know who Werner Schlager is, right?
Sure.
Only the table tennis. So maybe if Werner Schlager did something crazy in the final, let's say, for example, he was 10-7 up against Juicy Hook and, I don't know, did a swap hand shot around the net, something crazy, or a handle shot like the Dane does, or something ridiculous, and then it got into the newspapers and the media around the world on all the eyeballs. People are like, wow, did you see that table tennis final? An Austrian guy won it. He beat a Chinese guy, and he did this handle shot at the end to win it, or this swap hand shot. It was insane.
Yeah.
Then Werner Schlager could have become this global icon because, and do you know what I mean? So you kind of need something crazy to happen. You need something insane to happen, I think, to then.
Right.
When Liam Pitcher did that back shot against Jim Mitsutani, that went really viral in all the networks.
Match.
Yeah, twice in one match. Now, let's say that was the final of the Olympics. Because it's the Olympics and Olympics gets aired like differently to, let's say, a World Team Championships or whatever the event was in.
Yeah.
You need probably a crazy moment, and you need the person to win the event.
You need, because I think like winning the event gives like a name association to the point. Like, I don't think in the mainstream that Wang Yang is like a player that people are going to be like, do you know Wang Yang? But that video, that point that he played has reached like hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah,
like, it's
huge. You're about the chop boom.
I would. Yeah, that is likely like that. That's probably the most viral table tennis video ever, I would say.
Ever. I would say that one and the Christopher Chen one. Remember when he put his hand up above the table? The no-look one? And the kid fell on the floor?
Yeah.
That. I don't know how many...
The thing is, like, those don't connect, like, the person.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Connect the face.
This is the thing. No. This is the problem with social media, like, from a mainstream point of view. Yes, it gets hundreds of thousands, millions and millions and millions of views. But, like, it doesn't connect it again to the mainstream audience to then go, I'm going to watch this sport. This is amazing. Or I'm going to do this. And you might get some more followers going, oh, I saw this great shot. I'm going to watch some table tennis. But the person needs to drive out of it. You know, the reason why I watch the Wimbledon final or the US Open final, because I'm like, oh, Djokovic versus Nadal or whatever it is, I'll tune in. And, you know, and that's just, and there'll be millions of people around the world thinking the exact same as me. Oh, Djokovic versus Nadal. Let's see what happens.
I think Breakpoint on Netflix has done a really good job of that. Like going behind the scenes with the tennis players, like you get a chance.
That was really cool. Yeah,
like really great TV show.
Yeah, the Michael Jordan one was really good as well.
Right? Yeah.
Did you watch that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. I mean,
let's say that came
MJ's
out. I mean,
yeah,
he's a goat. I mean, he's known by everyone, and it's a very difficult one, Matt. But I think. I think it's a combination of luck and something needs to happen, like a crazy moment in the match. Like when Genjiga kicked the barrier and he got fined, that went viral. And that was a big thing.
Really? Yeah.
So I'm not saying players should kick barriers, but stuff, you know, there needs to be entertainment.
Only metaphorical ones.
Yeah. But also Waltner, when he won the Olympics and everything else he did, you know, he's super famous in China and in Sweden and obviously other places around the world. But he isn't he's not Roger Federer level, but he is very known. And maybe in today's generation, if Waltner was doing what he did then in today's generation and with social media and the way the world is, it could be different. Like maybe Waltner could be a Djokovic, you know? I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to tell. But what do you think?
I don't come on my podcast to get put on the spot. I think there's there has to be some kind of crossover, because I genuinely feel like in terms of like mainstream and people being recognizable, Adam Bobrow is probably better known to a mainstream audience in and outside of table tennis than the majority of any world-class player. Pong Finity is the same. And I think people over time, because of the way that the content is built, they've gotten to know, like, it's kind of what you're doing. Like, I would say more people know Otto as Sensei than they do as Otto. They're like, oh yeah, it's Pong, it's Sensei. Like, that association is like, they've given them a character and they've given them a nickname. And I guarantee you there'll be so many people out there, you could go up to them and you could be like, oh, they're like, what have you been up to? I'll be like, oh, I've just been practicing with Tom Maynard. And they'll be like, okay, who's Tom Maynard? And you'd be like, oh, the frog from TableTennisDaily. They're like, oh, that Tom. Like, I would say more people will recognize them by those names. So I think that's also a big thing as well. Like, it helps people remember who the people are. You know, they do it in darts as well. Like, they have the nicknames as well, and wrestlers, and they build like a character around an athlete. I think it's important.
Very true. Sorry. Yeah, Matt. Sorry, to stop you there. I was going to bring them up, but I forgot. Do you remember the ping pong Ali Pali championships, the ping pong world championships in London?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, right. So that copied the darts model. Barry Hearn pioneered it all, and other guys involved from the UK. And actually in the US as well. I don't even know who founded it, whatever. But it was epic. And what was really interesting was it was on Sky Sports, which is a massive... You heard of Sky Sports? Yeah. Yeah, Sky Sports is massive in the UK. I don't know what... Yeah,
I'm not American, remember?
Yeah, Sky Sports is like the ESPN of America. And they used to cover the ping pong on Sky Sports. And it was insane. So I'd go to college the next day. I used to work at the college. And all the tutors and the sports fitness coaches and stuff would be like, oh, I saw Thingy last night won the ping pong. Like, oh, I saw Andrew Bagley won the ping pong. Or I saw the big tall guy.
Baggers.
But I saw Yeah, exactly. Or Durant, and they had nicknames. I can't remember what their nicknames were now. But like, you had Flash, and Alexander Fleming was called the Flash.
Fleming was the Flash.
Yeah, Fleming. Yeah, and everyone was like, oh yeah, that Flash guy was so quick. He's so good at ping pong. And I was like, this is insane. Like, all these people in this college know who they are. And you know, on Sky Sports, it's such a big coverage that, and the way they did it, you can remember it. You can associate, you know, oh, the tall guy, Chris Durant, I think they called him the Wall. Yeah. And then everyone was like, oh yeah, did you see the Wall? Whatever he was called. Yeah. And like you're saying, I think you're correct here. Like maybe that's what table tennis needs to do, though, is like, maybe there's different show, like when the event takes place, the players run out differently. There's more, I don't know, like the ping pong was insane. I was in the crowd once and it was nuts. Like, everyone was going insane. It was really good. I think it's... Yeah. Really small arena with like 3,000 people could sit in it, but it's really tight. One small table in the middle and everyone's around it. Now, maybe that's another problem as well. In table tennis right now, like WTT and stuff, the arenas are massive. And they've got the Infinity Arena and they've tightened it up a bit, but yeah, and you're not connected to it. You don't feel like you're in touch with the person. So maybe that would help as well. We actually
remember in Budapest, remember we were sitting in the audience for the final.
Yeah.
And we were watching the match on like
1 mile away.
The live stream.
Screen.
We had the live stream open.
I know.
And we had the stream on the phone, and then we had the screen at the top. We weren't actually paying attention to what was happening on the actual table. And we were there.
It's crazy. Yeah. That was a shame because that was Matthias Falk versus Marlon in the final, wasn't it? Amazing that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if he was right at the table, if that was in the same arena they did the ping pong, wow, it'd been amazing.
It'd be huge.
So that's going to make a huge, huge difference, is the way the arena is built. I know that they build it like that in a minute to have all the other tables in there for the earlier rounds. But if the semi-final and final was in a really tight, compact thing, then when points do go viral on Instagram and stuff, then maybe people would associate more to it. Like, wow, did you see those fans? They were crazy, you know? And it's more like, it's more togetherness.
Or maybe don't put it in the middle. Like maybe you have to like sacrifice. Maybe some of the seats at the far away end are like much cheaper, but like put it on one end so that you have like one full side and like two corners. So at least you have three sides of the table like really close, instead of having like all four far away.
No, it was crazy. So I think you're right in that sense, in that the production of table tennis, if that copied a bit more of like the darts, the ping pong, would really help things. It would help the audience connect to someone. Like, let's say Timo Boll had a really cool nickname and he was always going out with that nickname, the same music, the lights, the fireworks, and the whole thing. Then actually it becomes better to watch. And I was also wondering this as well recently, is like, you need, as much as it needs to go mainstream, right, table tennis, for it to, whatever, like, how actually winning the table tennis audience is just as important. Do you know what I mean? So like the table tennis audience is actually very big. A lot of people do play table tennis, and you need to concentrate on winning that audience as well. Because if you win that audience and build a really strong, insane following of the table tennis audience,
that's huge.
Then more people come in. And I feel like lately, I don't know how much the sport is being followed like it used to be, but I feel like it could be better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that there's plenty of stuff that could improve for sure. We could go down a rabbit hole with this. We kind of already have. But we'll be sensible and we'll wrap it up on this topic for now, and maybe continue it in the forum. It's a great place.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't having a forum great? Yeah. Dan, thanks a bunch for doing this podcast, and also the last one. If you haven't seen that one yet, make sure you check it out.
For sure.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm sure we'll have more opportunities to do more podcasts down the road as well.
For sure, Matt. And I know obviously here we're talking about what things can be done to improve, but I would say as a whole, the internet has been massive for table tennis. You know, when we were younger, if table tennis wasn't on the TV, you wouldn't have no idea what's going on. You wouldn't see anything. But now you've got all these great videos online, watching Fan Dong doing multi-ball, watching anything. So that is definitely helped the exposure of table tennis. It's now just working out, okay, how does it turn into a mainstream sport you know, with the Nike sponsorships and the McDonald's logos. Well, maybe not McDonald's, but you know what it's like with these mainstream sports.
Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
Cheers, Dan.
Cheers, Matt. Take it easy. See you soon, yeah?